Hi, I have a 94-year-old mother who has heart failure. She lives in independent living. She has dementia. She can barely walk, and we applied through her doctor to have her put into long-term care, and Fraser Health came out. They told us that they could provide somebody for $30 an hour who would not help her dress, would not help her make her bed, would not help her wash, would not help her change her colostomy. Essentially, they were just there to phone 911.
This is for home care.
This is for home care in the long-term, in independent living.
Right.
So my sister and I have to do the work. She told us it would be at least 2 years before she could go into long-term care. She did not offer anything else.
Yeah, well, Tanya, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for supporting your mother and as well as your sister. It's encouraging to hear that in independent living, supports can be brought in, but it sounds to me like the supports that are offered are inadequate for what your mother truly needs, and the burden is being placed on you. When we did our report, and we heard from 900 caregivers, people like yourself, they told us their stories, and they're really heartbreaking because essentially what government's doing is instead of building enough long-term care, the pressure is being shifted, and financial pressure also being shifted onto the family caregivers. And ultimately, your mother's a good example. If she's at intolerable risk, she really should be in long-term care where she'd be getting 3.36 hours of direct care. So if you're not in long-term care getting that, you really need that wherever you're living.
It's not exactly a surprise that demand has grown, right? We've known that we have this aging population. We're seeing it now. Why hasn't the province done enough to meet that demand over this last decade?
Well, you're right. We've known about this since the 1950s when the baby boomers, that bulge, if you will, of 20-year demographic is moving through and becoming now in older age. The oldest baby boomer today is 79, and she'll be 90 in 11 years when we need 16,000 more beds. We essentially have to increase our bed stock by 50% in the next decade to ensure that people like Tanya's story isn't heard more frequently in British Columbia. So why haven't we done this? Successive governments have done something around long-term care, but there was a period of time where we didn't build long-term care. And you look at the alternatives that are there. One of them that was introduced 25 years ago was publicly funded assisted living. And last year, there were 1,200 people waiting for that service as well. So the general continuum of subsidized seniors care in BC has not been invested in the way that's needed to hit the demand that's coming with the baby boomers and those who follow them. We have to invest now. We've got to have a plan immediately so we can ensure that 10 years from now, we don't have more stories like Tanya's situation.